The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. In short, we depropagandize the mainstream media. We do make commentary. Commentary is not news. Commentary is opinion, both yours and mine. Let's compare. Let's debate. This is the Wells Report news, analysis, commentary, and debate. Good Wednesday morning. So I hope you like our new time slot. It is a bit later than it has been because I will be working my day job, which is more like a swing job because it ends late at night. And I need to sleep because without sleep, there is no cogent thought. It is more gibberish than anything useful, and therefore I try to avoid gibberish whenever humanly possible. Pity that's not happening in a New York courtroom. There is a very serious trial that has been going on for the last 6 weeks. In fact, 28 minutes ago, the jury, after hearing instructions from Judge Juan Merchan, have left the courtroom, entered the jury room, and have begun their deliberations. Fox News reports it like this. Jury instructions concluded this morning, and the jury was dismissed to start deliberations in the unprecedented case against former President Donald Trump, which is called NY v. Trump. Before the jury was dismissed, both parties held a sidebar with Judge Juan Merchan. If the jury has a question on law, they will send a note asking for review. The first juror selected is the foreperson. The foreperson does not need to write the note or even agree with it. The foreperson will read the verdict for each of the charged accounts. Jurors will then be polled. Jurors will be given the verdict sheet. The jury may not leave the jury room during deliberations. Lunch will be provided. They must give their cell phones to a court officer. The jury can only deliberate when all gathered together in the jury room. They must discuss the case only amongst themselves, no one else, not even the court officer. If they have any questions, they will write a note to the judge. The plan today is to work until 4:30 this afternoon. The judge is not permitted to have conversations on the fact of the case. No juror can say the vote of any count. The judge directed all parties to be present during deliberations. They cannot leave the building. So this from 1 minute ago, Attorney General Merrick Garland is uninterested in justice and motivated by politics, according to Senator J.D. Vance. He joined America's Newsroom on Fox to explain why he believes the person involved in the prosecution of former President Trump is nothing more than a Democrat political operative. Linda Hu, inside the courtroom, presents a real vulnerability for Trump is possibly the tax crime. It seems a real vulnerability for President Trump, the tax crime. We have not talked about it a lot. There was not a lot of focus during the trial on the tax charges. But as Merchan instructed, a tax crime could have been committed even if there was no underpayment of taxes. Prosecutors argued yesterday that reporting money as income when it was a reimbursement is a crime even when it does not result in underpaying taxes. They also say the defendants prepared false tax documents when they reported the reimbursement as income. So if jurors believe that documents were falsified with the intent to defraud, then a third element, the objective offense, could be the intent to conceal or commit a tax crime. If jurors agree that the reporting of a reimbursement as income is a tax crime, then that's the third element to bump these misdemeanors to felonies. I don't mean to suggest that I think a conviction is likely or probable on this theory. She is suggesting that of the three particular circumstances, it seems that this presents an avenue for the jury to find guilt without even touching the election and conspiracy issues. She, by the way, is a Fox Business News correspondent, Lydia Hu. Former President Donald Trump is not exactly optimistic. He spoke outside the Manhattan courtroom after the jury was dismissed to begin deliberations, saying that, quote, Mother Teresa could not beat these charges, unquote. He went on to say this: I would say, in listening to the charges from the judge, who, as you know, is very conflicted and corrupt because of the conflict, and very, very corrupt, Mother Teresa could not beat these charges, unquote. He went on to say the charges are rigged, the whole thing is rigged, and you have a trial like this where the judge rather, is so conflicted, adding that it's a very disgraceful situation. So Linda Hugh, by the way, from Fox Business News, said that Merchan instructed the jury on knowledge of a conspiracy. He said mere knowledge of conspiracy does not make the defendant a co-conspirator. Prosecutors must prove intent. Also, being present with others when they form a conspiracy does not mean the defendant is part of that conspiracy. This instruction makes the Cohen testimony about calling Trump to advise of Stormy Daniels' NDA issues, including the phone call to Schiller and Trump, as testified, on October 2016, very important. If the jurors believe that Cohen was advising Trump specifically on the nature of the NDA, getting approval and signing off from Trump to set up the bank account and LLC, the juror could maybe find intent on the behalf of Trump. Otherwise, evidence shows Trump was present at the 2015 Trump Tower meeting with Pecker and Cohen when Pecker said that he would be the eyes and ears, and Trump was a part of the meeting with Allen Weisselberg and Cohen as they talked about the $420,000 payments to Michael Cohen. In both cases, perhaps a juror could conclude that Trump was present without taking action, so had no intent. That illustrates why Attorney Blanche made a big production in court to cast doubt on Cohen's version of the October 2016 call, that perhaps it was a prank call, not about Stormy Daniels at all. If he's lying about the phone call, is he lying about everything else? Let's see. Let's move on here. Jonathan Turley also talked a little bit about a lot of this. He said inside the court, resurrecting a dead misdemeanor is so circular as to produce vertigo. Here's what he said. So a dead misdemeanor for falsifying business records was zapped back into life by alleging that under New York election law 17152, it was done to influence the election by unlawful means of falsification of business records. It is so circular as to produce vertigo. So the jury finds some documents were falsified to use in the unlawful means of falsifying other documents. That is only one of three possible crimes. The jury does not have to agree on which was the basis for their conviction. In fact, there are 12 people in this jury. 4 could find that one particular law was violated. Another 4 could find another law was violated. And a third quartet, could find that a third law was violated. And the judge has said that that means that that is a unanimous verdict, even though 3 different laws would be involved. That is hypothetical, like so many other things in this case. But Jonathan Turley spent an awful lot of time talking about much of this on Fox News. Let's take a look at that report as we bring you the latest from the Trump trial here on the Wells Report.
Well, it's not that I haven't seen anything like this. I haven't even read about anything like this. What I saw in that courtroom was really otherworldly. And, you know, I've really attempted to give the judge the benefit of doubt on many occasions. But what I saw today was frankly outrageous. At one point, the prosecutor actually said that Michael Cohen committed federal election violations upon the orders of Donald Trump. Now, Merchan has given an instruction that the jury is not supposed to attribute Cohen's plea deal as an issue of guilt towards Trump. So the defense objected, and Merchan just overruled it and allowed the prosecutor to repeatedly state that federal election violations by Trump are a fact and that there's not any dispute to that. And Merchan just sat there. He was as useful as a ficus plant in that courtroom. I kept on waiting, looking at him for some sign that he was even listening to some of these arguments. And at one point, the prosecutor said that Hope Hicks burst into tears because she knew that she had destroyed any defense by Donald Trump. Really? How do you know that? At another point, the prosecutor basically started to testify and said that catch and kill techniques are just not used in the media or politics, that this is beyond anything that the media or political groups have ever done. That's not in the record. He was giving testimony. There was no expert as to that. Hillary Clinton killed and planted cases in that very election. Some of the most outrageous hoaxes were perpetrated by the Hillary Clinton campaign with an enabling media. And in fact, many of those reporters listening helped the Hillary campaign do that.
Yeah. So obviously there's all manner of difficulty with all of this, and it is in the hands of the jury at this particular moment. So what do you think? What do you think about all of this? First instructions, now deliberations as the jury takes the case. What do you think they're going to say? Where do you believe they're going to find? Will they find innocence or will they find guilt? We do not know. We do not know, but we do know that it is quite possible that indeed we could find ourselves in a position with a verdict before the end of this broadcast. If so, of course, we'll announce it. We have no idea what this jury is going to do. All we can say is surmise that because this particular area of New York is 95% Biden supporting voters, you would think that maybe they would take an opportunity to perhaps make an early vote. Many people have said, and I think the most poignant quote of all of this comes to the fore when whoever said it, and I don't know who it was, said that the 2024 election cannot be determined by the votes of 12 jurors in a New York municipal court. And that person is completely correct. I don't know where that quote came from. If you happen to know where it came from, by all means, share that information with me. And so a former president of the United States is now being judged by 12 people that may or may not be willing to actually deal with the law. Is that indeed the case? No, we don't know. We don't know about any of this. All we can say is that American history will change either way on their decision. What are your thoughts on this? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. As we go to the chat room, by the way, that's available on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, and Patreon. If you'd like to weigh in, we'd sure like to hear from you. We prefer the phone, but if you want to use the chat room, that's fine. Let's see. John Van said, good morning. And then he says, we're a banana republic now. This trial is wrong in society in so many, many different ways. Let's see. Yvonne said good morning also. Hi, Yvonne. Good to have you here. She said, good morning to everyone. Also, Martha Brothers has actually had some jury experience. She says this: I was on a jury that was deadlocked once. It went to the second day. 10 of us just couldn't convince the other 2. Then we were called back to the courtroom. The defendant had taken a plea. Then and only then could the judge come in and tell us that there was evidence against this guy from another case similar to the one we were trying him on. I knew he was guilty from all the evidence. She goes on to say, I've been on 2 juries, one civil and one criminal. Ironic that since I retired, they haven't called me to serve now that I actually have time. That's the way that usually works. One jury that I didn't get on was a child abuse case. I was struck off the jury panel when they found out that I was a nurse. And so, the vagaries of American justice, more vague now than they have ever been in any of our lives, and a president's possible fate will indeed rest on some of that. Or maybe it won't. More about that coming up in a moment. This is The Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. Good morning. John David Wells at your service. Telephone number 813-813. What did I say that for? 817-379-2172. Jumbling my numbers, which, of course, is something you know all about, because jumbling numbers is the reason I don't have a math-based job. Yeah, I had to figure out language instead. So, former President Donald Trump's criminal trial is now in the hands of the jury. A pending verdict in the historic case could have serious consequences in the 2024 election between former President and President Biden. Trump currently holds a slight edge in both national polling and public opinion surveys in most of the crucial battleground states that will likely determine their rematch. However, Trump faces the possibility of being convicted on some or all of the nearly 36 state felony charges. He faces trial in New York City, which is the first in the nation's history for a former or current president. There's also the possibility of a hung jury or an acquittal. I don't know which of those three choices will happen. Could any of the legal outcomes alter the current trajectory in the White House race? Veteran pollster Chris Anderson, a member of the Fox News election decision team and the Democrat partner on the Fox News poll, said that he did not think, quote, a guilty verdict would fundamentally change the landscape of the race. Do you agree? If you are a Trump supporter, would you indeed be willing to change your vote based on the verdict that could arrive as early as today? Darren Shaw, a political professor and chair at the University of Texas, who also serves as a member of the Fox News decision team and the Republican partner on the Fox News poll, noted that, quote, prior to 2020, no one would have thought that a candidate could survive a criminal conviction, unquote. But times and circumstances have evolved, he said, and while specific findings of the jury could matter, I think there is a sense that a conviction in this case would not appreciably change the dynamics of the race. Both pointed to the fact that attitudes are so set in concrete regarding both the former Republican president and his Democrat successor in the White House. Trump is charged with falsifying business records in relation to payments during the 2016 election that he made to Stormy Daniels to keep quiet about an alleged affair with the adult film actress. Trump's former attorney, Michael Cohen, paid Daniels, whose real name is Stephanie Clifford, $130,000 in return for her silence about allegations of an affair with Trump in 2006. Prosecutors have argued that this amounted to illegally seeking to influence the 2016 election. Now, without trying to descend to politics, someone has to explain to me why we are in a position where these payments to Stephanie Clifford / Stormy Daniels has any relevance anywhere in American politics, insofar as we don't have to go back very far to determine that, yeah, there are crimes on the Hunter Biden laptop, none of which have been charged. None of them. Indeed, they have been set aside by the press and by the DOJ. And so there's that. There's also Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, as Jonathan Turley said moments ago. These people have used the catch and kill aspect of bad stories in the media for decades. It's not something that is not done in American politics. And for New York, one of the most notoriously politically twisted / distorted states and cities in the nation, for them to somehow find this, oh my God, this has never been done before. Excuse me? Now, I'm not talking about politics here, and I'm not doing whataboutism. What I'm talking about is hypocrisy. I'm talking about hypocrisy. I'm talking about what is clearly, whether or not he's guilty or not, election interference. And it comes down to what I just said a moment ago. Should this election be decided by 12 people in a New York courtroom? You tell me, yes or no. 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. I would love to hear from you. Please do join us. Our chat rooms are flying. We got people from all over the place enjoying the broadcast today as we wait for history to be made on the Wells Report. We'll be back with more coming up in just a moment.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. John David Wells at your service. Telephone number 817-379-2172. A Democrat friend of the Wells Report, Jim Lafferty, a guy I went to high school with, is a great human being. He says this: nice to see at least the justice system knows no one is above the law. I hope the Supreme Court agrees. He's referring to the Supreme Court presidential immunity trial that is due at any moment. If they don't, speaking of the Supreme Court, we are headed for a constitutional crisis that we have never seen before. Jim, I would say we're already there. I would say that this is beyond the pale. Martha Brothers says, I'll help you with math. We could call on my son, who's an algebra professor at Wake Forest University. Gosh, I would love to be able to do math. You know, I've actually thought about going back and starting over. I know exactly when it happened. It happened in 7th grade. I missed very important concepts because I got changed from happily being a B+ student to being thrown in with all the brains. And I guess that wasn't necessarily a terrible move, but it sure did ruin my math education, along with something called New Math, which was bewildering and so bad that they actually had college courses to try to untangle us. So there was a guy, speaking of being tangled, Robert De Niro, on the behest of the White House and the Biden campaign, showed up outside the New York City courtroom where Donald Trump's trial is being held. He's a longtime Democrat who recently voiced an ad for Democrat President Joe Biden. He attended a Biden campaign event outside the Manhattan courtroom with two former law enforcement officers, Harry Dunn and Michael Fanone, who were at the U.S. Capitol when it was attacked by Trump supporters on January 6th, 2021. The remarks are part of the Biden campaign's attempt to use wall-to-wall media coverage of the Trump trial to push their own message, which is Trump is a danger to democracy. What do you think about that? 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. Here is the actor, at least a small part of this, from NBC News, joining us on the Wells Reports.
I owe this city a lot. And that's why it's so weird that Donald Trump is just across the street. Because he doesn't belong in my city. But around the country, people who didn't know him, as we did, started to support him. They bought into his bullshit. Trump bought their votes with outrageous lies and empty promises. Somehow, he even got self-styled patriots to support a man who called for terminating the Constitution, and on January 6th, rallied an angry mob to threaten democracy, leaving death and destruction in its wake. That's why I needed to be involved and wanted to be involved in the new Biden-Harris ad, because it shows the violence of Trump and reminds us that he'll use violence against anyone who stands in the way of his megalomania and greed. And now he's promising to use our own military to attack U.S. citizens. That's the tyrant he's telling us he'll be. And believe me, he means it. When Trump ran in 2016, it was like a joke. This buffoon running for president. No, never could happen. We'd forgotten the lessons of history that showed us other clowns who weren't taken seriously until they became vicious dictators. With Trump, we have a second chance. And no one is laughing now. This is the time to stop him by voting him out once and for all. I hope this new ad campaign reaches outside the bubble to remind supporters of what a danger he is to our lives. This is not a threat. This is a reality. You're not going to intimidate. That's what Trump does, to try to intimidate. We have to fight back. We're trying to do what the world. We're trying to be gentlemen in this world. Democrats, you are gangsters. You are gangsters.
And so that was Robert De Niro, and he immediately created backlash that was, well, amazing. Referring to Trump's successful 2016 run for president, the Academy Award winner said Trump's candidacy was initially laughed off. We've forgotten the lessons of history. You heard him say that. If Trump returns to the White House, De Niro said Americans could see civil liberties they take for granted evaporate, as well as the end of elections. If he gets in, I can tell you right now, he will never leave. In his most biting comments, De Niro spoke of Trump through the lens of the largely Democrat city, whose voters know Trump well and roundly rejected him at the polls. We New Yorkers used to tolerate him when he was just another grubby real estate hustler masquerading as a big shot, a two-bit playboy lying his way into the tabloids, a clown. No one took him seriously. They take him seriously now. Fanone and Dunn delivered emotional remarks saying the violence in the Capitol was fueled by Trump's lies, that the 2020 election was stolen. The speakers were heckled by Trump supporters as pro-Trump demonstrators chanted in the background. He was not, as I said, the only person that received, those people who were yelling at him were not the only ones that did not appreciate what he had to say. As a matter of fact, Donald Trump's son, Donald Jr., also spoke passionately about the circumstances he finds his father in, and said as much on this local Philadelphia television station broadcast.
This is amazing. I think Todd Blanche summed it up best. If there was an MVP, if there was a GOAT of liars, it is Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen is the embodiment of reasonable doubt. And this entire case hinges on someone who has quite literally lied to every single person and body he's ever been in front of. He's lied before, I believe it's every branch of Congress. He's lied before his wife. He's lied to bankers. He's lied to all of you in the press. And he's actually lied to that very jury. And yet he's the only person of relevance that this entire case hinges on. We understand that this is a political persecution. That was evidenced today by the Biden campaign themselves holding a rally here. They bring in Robert De Niro, who was shot down, but apparently he needs attention because it's been a while since he's cranked out a good movie. But think about it. They bring out one actor. Remember in 2020 when every A-list actor in the world showed up for Joe Biden, they lined up one by one? Now they get one person. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson disavowed, said, hey, listen, I regret voting for him. Cardi B, all the people that lined up behind Joe Biden understand that he has failed our country. He has failed the citizens of this nation. Frankly, he has failed the world. But the fact that they're holding a rally across the seat from this very witch hunt, right across the street, tells us exactly what we all knew all along, that it is a political persecution. It is a witch hunt. There is a reason one of the people sitting at that desk was the number 3 person in Joe Biden's DOJ. I know my father is not allowed to say Matthew Colangelo in his name, right? Because he's been gagged. The president of the United States is not allowed to exercise his First Amendment rights in New York City in this day and age.
And so, as you might imagine, Donald Trump Jr. extremely exercised about all of this, as he should be. Well, what about the international press? What about the international viewpoint? Well, there is a famous author who works in Australia and was on one of the news broadcasts that we were noticing, and he had this to say when he was asked about the De Niro comments.
And elections, forget about it. That's over. That's done. If he gets in, I can tell you right now, he will never leave. He will never leave. You know that. He will never leave.
There you have it. Elections, democracy, it's all over if Trump wins. It got even worse than that, Douglas. I'll be featuring some of the lunacy later in the program. But what did you make of that? And will it have any impact on the voting public?
The only impact that Robert De Niro and other celebrities have when they do this kind of thing is to encourage more voters to silently vote for Trump. First of all, I mean, what is somebody like De Niro thinking of? Who does he think he is? What does he think his role is in society? I mean, he's an actor, and I think a very good one, which is one of the reasons I really dislike it when I see an actor like him do this, because afterwards you can't help but watch him in a role and then think, oh, there's that guy who's a rather tedious political bore. But it is tedious and it is boring. He has no special insights. And so why is he standing in front of a bank of microphones offering his insights about Trump? I've always thought that this celebrity, endorsement, celebrity commenting thing backfires on the people that they support. I think most ordinary Americans, like most ordinary Australians and Brits, we don't really like to be talked at.
That is the Rita Panahi Show, and that is author Douglas Murray, who is more famous in Australia than he is here. But it's interesting that the international community has weighed in mainly on the part of what they see as a drastic miscarriage of not just justice, but the entire judicial system of the United States. And these people have roundly seen the United States of America set the pace for equal protection under the law and the importance of civil rights and constitutional rights. Are they evident in this trial? You answer, you give me your thoughts. 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. There have been a lot of celebrities that have impaled themselves on their politics, much to their ruin. I don't know that Robert De Niro is someone who is going to face that end or that particular course of action. I don't know that this is going to end whatever people believe De Niro brings to a screen. His work is unmistakably brilliant. There is no doubt about it. But he needs to remember that the reason that he's famous and the reason that he has this platform is because he reads the words of others convincingly on film. Now, I'm not saying that Robert De Niro doesn't get to say what he wants to say. I put it on this broadcast. I put it on this broadcast because, yes, freedom of speech is important. Also, there is such a thing as balance in news, certainly on this broadcast. And it always will be as follows. However, you do have to remember that there are people who looked at politics and saw nothing but disaster from an entertainment standpoint. And we have proof. The number one late night talk show in the United States for decades was The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson used to say, politics, it just isn't funny. It isn't entertaining. He would say that the closest I ever got to it is during good times, I would tell serious jokes. During bad times, I would tell silly jokes. And that was as close as he ever got to politics. Frank Sinatra said, hey, he was a famous supporter of John Kennedy. And he said, hey, don't ask me about politics. I'm just a saloon singer. And that's what he would say. And that level of understanding, I think, is both it's humility on parade. And also it's good business for entertainers to stay away from politics. There's nothing wrong with having fun. There's nothing wrong with a good joke. There's nothing wrong with saying, as Robert De Niro said, what he has to say. But as we look at those comments, we also have to point out that it's not like Donald Trump did any of these things in the 4 years he was president already. He has not changed much. He has not changed. He's more certainly chastened by the depth of the swamp that he sought so hard to do something about in 2016. And this is the swamp fighting back and punishing anybody who would dare to challenge their primacy here in the United States. And it has damaged this nation. Our executive branch agencies are political action committees. Our justice system is nowhere close to equal justice under the law. There was no FBI director saying, no, Donald Trump, he didn't have any kind of shall we say, intent to defraud the United States or New York or anybody else. No, that was saved for Hillary Clinton. Supposedly one of the most famously intelligent women on the planet, and very likely she is. But James Comey said that she was just stupid and didn't know what she was doing, even though the law that she plainly violated dispatched intent as any kind of considerable part of the law. In other words, you didn't have to have intent. You only needed to have committed the crime, which he did 16 times, and that is the Espionage Act, and that's Section 7. So the people of the United States are watching as a former president is attempting to be taken down by a local city DA. A local city DA. Obviously, it's New York instead of, say, Poughkeepsie or any of those other small little towns. But all I can say is this. If this is successful, you can say goodbye to the presidency forever. And that's what I see as the end of all of this mess if it goes the wrong way. This is the Wells Report.
Vallarta.
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
This is the Wells Report. Greetings. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Like I said, there are a lot of people weighing in on all of this. And one of them happens to be Nicole Russell of USA Today. She's written an op-ed piece that I think you should know about. I think you should go to the newspaper and check it out yourself. It starts like this. Will Republicans vote for Donald Trump even if he is found guilty? This could be the quandary for Republicans if the former president is convicted on the hush money trial. It could raise important legal, ethical, and political questions, or at least it should, about Trump's candidacy and our willingness to vote for him. A verdict could come this week. Indeed, it could come today, following the instructions given in the jury being sequestered off into the jury room. Republicans' view of Trump have already shifted. A May PBS NewsHour NPR Marist poll show that 46% say that Trump has acted unethically. That number has jumped 12 points since February. This is a hint that the trial has tarnished Trump's reputation in the eyes of Republicans. But to what extent? If Trump is found guilty, MAGA Republicans will reframe this as a win, suggesting it bolsters their original conspiracy theories about the left's use of lawfare as a way to prevent Trump from winning again. They will nod their MAGA-capped heads and say in unison, "See, we told you, it's all a giant conspiracy." However, if Trump is found guilty, conservatives who are not pro-Trump or hard-right MAGA fans, like myself, she does point out that she is a hard-right MAGA fan, will face the hardest question of all. Who will conservatives who, like me, dislike Trump and President Joe Biden vote for? Will we vote at all? Well, it is essential that you do indeed vote. And this is not the first time that the people of the United States have been confronted with the idea that the entire campaign comes down to the lesser of two evils. I don't happen to believe that Trump is evil. I don't happen to believe that Joe Biden is evil, although his politics concern me deeply. We'll talk about that next hour here on the Wells Report. But all I can say on this is as follows. 74 million Americans voted for Donald Trump in 2020. 74 million. I don't see that they have gone anywhere. I don't see that any of those 74 million were fraudulent voters. I don't see anybody questioning whether or not there was some strange daring do having to do with the 2020 election with regards to people voting for Donald Trump. Most Americans do believe that this is political chicanery. They do believe it's lawfare. That is polled and answered time after time after time. So where do we stand? Where do we stand in all of this? This is a great question. If Trump is found guilty by this jury in what is by commentators' points of view, even commentators from the left, is flawed and indeed unfair. What if this jury finds him guilty anyway? The President of the United States, Joe Biden, is planning to address the nation based on this verdict. Many people say, why would he go out and say, oh, I don't know, let's go ahead and comment on some municipal court action against a typical American? Well, obviously, Donald Trump isn't a typical American. Although what we've seen is people say, well, no one is above the law. Well, okay. If no one is above the law, then why is the President of the United States deciding to punch down from the Oval Room at the White House on Donald Trump one way or another? Why would he do this? Well, it's simple. This is an election year. And as I've said time and time again, all the way back to the beginning of the Wells Report some 23 years ago, the United States of America collectively loses its mind when campaigns begin to elect another president. And that's where we are. That's where we are. I never thought it would be possible to see the political machinery of the United States of America go after a political opponent. I never thought I'd ever see that. But that is exactly what we see now. This is a trial that should have had no oxygen to breathe at any moment. Indeed, the United States government, the DOJ, said, nope, we're not following up on this. And that, by the way, was the Biden DOJ who did that. We've never seen someone leave the Department of Justice, the number 3 lawyer, and go take on a municipal court case in some city of the United States just to be able to nail a political opponent. Until now. This is not something that is anywhere close to what the United States of America stands for. And to all those people who say, well, thankfully, we finally have the idea that no one is above the law and that the system works and so on and so on. I find that probably will be very little comfort when this same machinery changes its mind and goes after one of your candidates. But what of the United States? What of the United States if this becomes part and parcel of the way we run politics in this nation? What of us? What of the people? This is the Wells Report. My telephone number, 817-379-2172. If you find value in this broadcast, by all means, subscribe to it. Share it with your friends. Ask them to subscribe. And then, whatever you can, take the notification button and light it so you know when we're on the air. We changed our time to 11 to 1. And I hope that you find this some sort of valuable. And we'll be back with hour number 2 in a moment.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship.
Call 877-655-6870. That's 877-655-6870. 877-655-6870.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. In short, we de-propagandize the mainstream media. We also make commentary. Commentary is not news. That's why we use a different camera. It's not news. Commentary is opinion. And I'm not the only one with an opinion. You have one too. By all means, let's compare them. Let's debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. And thank you very much for being a part of our broadcast. If you find value in this show, by all means, subscribe to it. Send it to your friends. Share it. Have them subscribe. Then, whatever you do, hit the notification button so you know when we're on the air, because occasionally we do special broadcasts that are outside the typical realm. We did change our time for the broadcast. You note now that we are live from 11 to 1 p.m., 11 in the morning to 1 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And it'll be Central Standard Time when it gets back to the fallback thing that happens months from now. So we appreciate the fact that you're with us. And indeed, this is our new time frame, and I hope it is more convenient for most, and certainly appreciated by others. Thank you so much. So the 2024 race to the White House is underway. As I said at the last hour, we collectively lose our minds when indeed these election years come along. And what we have seen as time has gone by, various strategies of trying to move voters. Some are benign, but a lot of them are malignant and damage the nation. We'll get to one of those with regards to President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, beginning what they call a reach out to black colleges or black voters in the United States. And they started that today by going to Philadelphia. The New York Times calls it this way: with the 2024 race to the White House ramping up, President Biden will travel to Pennsylvania for another campaign event. On his latest stop in the Keystone State, the president will be joined by Vice President Kamala Harris. The president and vice president will appear at Girard College in Fairmount to launch their, quote, Black Voters for Biden-Harris initiative. Today, Team Biden-Harris is launching Black Voters for Biden-Harris, a national organizing program to bolster our continued historic investments and outreach to the backbone of the Biden-Harris coalition, Black voters. This, according to the Biden campaign in a statement. These voters were instrumental in electing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in 2020, paving the way for the Biden-Harris administration to deliver a record low Black unemployment rate. Black wealth increased by 60%. More Black Americans with health care coverage than ever before. Billions forgiven in state and student loan debt that disproportionately impacts Black borrowers. Now, these same voters will be critical to defeating former President Donald Trump's racist and toxic agenda at the ballot box again. The New York Times article goes on to say that Mr. Biden also plans to visit a Black-owned small business in the city following the events at Girard College, where he'll meet with local business owners to, quote, continue discussions around this administration's commitment to increasing Black wealth. Mr. Biden is set to land at Philadelphia International Airport around 12:55 p.m. That would be 11:55, so he's probably there, where Mayor Sherrell Parker is scheduled to greet him. He'll then travel to Girard College, located in the city's Fairmount section, for remarks scheduled to begin around 1:30. Mr. Biden is scheduled to depart from PHL, that's the Philadelphia airport, at 4:45, so the evening commute along I-95 South could be impacted by delays. There is nothing crazier than when some amazing dignitary shows up in a major city. I used to work in Detroit, Michigan. I was a proud employee of ABC, the network. And one day I managed to be stopped about 7 blocks away from the Fisher Building in Detroit, where the studios of Power 96 happened to be housed, and they wouldn't let me in. And the reason they wouldn't let me in is because I didn't have the proper credentials. And the reason I didn't have the proper credentials is because nobody actually thought that I would need proper credentials to be able to get into the building. Why? Because His Eminence, the Pope, and that was Pope John Paul, was there speaking with the morning guy on WJR, the great J.P. McCarthy. And so I managed to talk my way into the building. Fortunately, I had left a little early so I wouldn't miss my show, and was able to identify myself to the satisfaction of the Secret Service and just about everybody else, including the Vatican security detail, and finally was able to get in there. I thought it was humorous, by the way, and this is kind of an excursion. But people wait their entire lives for an audience with the Pope. In that particular case, in the late 80s, the Pope waited his entire life to have an audience with J.P. McCarthy. That guy was so good. He was so very good. I remember he walked into the studio one day and he goes, "I'm very happy to be a colleague of yours, Mr. Wells." And I said, "Thank you, JP. I appreciate it." I mean, it was like, the magnitude of the man's star power was palpable. And he goes, "I find you very amusing." I said, "Thanks, JP. I wish I could do the job that you do." And he says, "Well, keep after it. It might just happen." And strangely enough, it did. Although I certainly don't have the fame or the gravitas, to use a tired word, that J.P. McCarthy had. I mean, the Pope came to visit him. I mean, come on, really? But as the president goes into Philadelphia, a place where you can't drive in the best of times, it's going to be a mess in that city just trying to drive your car. And indeed, if the security is as tight as it always is for a president, Philadelphia is essentially going to be immobile for the rest of the day. So according to the Biden team, Black Voters for Biden-Harris involves an 8-figure investment in programming with Black community groups and student and faith-based organizations in battleground states and across the country. Throughout the summer, the coalition will work to increase outreach to Black voters, work to improve voter education and registration, according to the campaign. Safeguard the Black vote from continued MAGA attacks. This coalition and the newly announced summer outreach and engagement program serve as the next phase of our campaign's ongoing historic investments in outreach to the backbone of the Biden-Harris coalition, the Black voter. This, according to Deputy Campaign Manager Quentin Fulks in a statement. While we are busy putting in the work to earn Black America's support, Donald Trump continues to show just how ignorant he is, hosting janky rap concerts to hide the fact that he lacks the resources and competence to genuinely engage our community. Which brings me to this. Racism in the United States has been used as a bludgeon, mainly by the left, in an effort to win elections. It is destructive to this nation. It harkens back to an age that had all been, for all intents and purposes, had been set aside by Enlightenment and the reality of the situation through the late 60s and 70s into the early 80s, that everybody's everybody. Everybody's everybody. We live together in harmony, e pluribus unum. Everyone of all races, creeds, colors, sexes, genders, what have you, all come to the United States. We have Chinese and Japanese, and we have Black Americans, and we have Italians and Poles, and we have all manner of everybody, indigenous peoples. We have everybody in the United States all pulling together. But in the classic sense of, in this case, political warfare, you first divide and then you conquer. The hypocrisy of the Democrats, and I know this firsthand. I was raised in the South. I know what these Southern Democrats are capable of from a race standpoint. Senator Robert Byrd was indeed a high official in the Ku Klux Klan. And all that was set aside for the sake of politics and a willing media to ignore the reality of the situation regarding the Democrat Party and what they do to divide this nation. I've spent an awful lot of time, as most people in this business do, looking at the actual breakdown of who lives in the United States. The black voters that the Biden-Harris campaign, the black coalition that they're trying to enliven again, represents 13% of the American population. 13%. The question is, how many people do you alienate going after a particular segment of society, when the only way to expand that particular outreach is to shame people through baseless charges of racism? Baseless charges of racism against your political opponents. These are the same people that decry institutional racism in the United States. What is this? What is this? This is a plain racial outreach. One that involves doing their absolute best to create grievance among the black population against everyone else in the United States through the lever of racism. It was all but done until 2008, when the people of the United States, in a triumph of race relations, elected a black American to be our president. And it was scarcely weeks before all those people who had traded on race before the election of President Obama started talking about, well, that doesn't mean that the United States isn't a racist country. This was at odds with President Obama, who at one of these historic black colleges looked at the men in front of him and said, okay, the excuses are over. You simply must achieve. That's what President Obama said to black Americans when he was running for president and when he was discussing his life. After that, Katie barred the door. The virulent, horrifying charges of racism against everyone shortly followed, which once again opened the chasm of racial hypocrisy in this nation. Yeah, I'm a white guy. I'm a white guy living in a white majority nation. But I'm also a white guy that doesn't give a tinker's damn about packaging. I could care less. I want to know who you are, what you're about, what you believe. I'm not interested in writing you off because of some physical characteristic. That is primitive. It's not just primitive, but it's idiotic. And it's being used to beat down all of us in these United States, creating grievance among some and blaming it on others, all for the sake of politics. In the United States of America, we all stand together. As I said, e pluribus unum, of many one. And to destroy that for the sake of winning an election, the most narrow of pursuits, is horrifying and terrible. And that's all there is to it. That's the way I see it. How about you? A173792172. This is the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Good morning. This is the Wells Report, and I just said good morning, but it's not morning. It's actually afternoon. See, every now and then, I have difficulties with the time warp. I changed my live time for this broadcast from 9 until 11 to 11 to 1 because I'll be working late in my day job, and what I want to do is I want to make sure that I get enough sleep so that I don't babble incessantly, although many people say I do anyway. That being said, I now have to remember that we go from morning to afternoon. It is 12:18 in the Central Time Zone, and thus afternoon. So, good afternoon. Speaking of babble. We are watching what many people have called in the United States election interference on the part of the Democrat Party, trying to do something to rid themselves of the scourge of Donald Trump. I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just reporting the news. But it seems as though they've had enough success at being able to do that. They've had enough success at being able to inhibit the political opposition that now they are turning on themselves. RFK Jr. is famously being shut out of Democrat politics. He's running as an independent. It's true. But he's not the only one. Author turned Democrat presidential candidate Marianne Williamson took to X to claim yesterday that the Democrat National Committee was attempting to sabotage her campaign. This from USA Today. We point out bias on this broadcast, so let me read what I just said to you verbatim from their article today. Author turned Democrat presidential candidate Marianne Williamson in 2024 and 2020 took to X to claim without evidence that the Democrat National Committee was attempting to sabotage her campaign. That's bias. That's bias. If indeed people in the United States of America do not believe that Marianne Williamson's campaign is being inhibited by the Democrat National Committee, they are whistling Dixie before the maelstrom. It's obvious. It's not just Marianne Williamson. It's RFK Jr. These people are doing their absolute dead level best to ruin the political chances of anybody going up against President Biden. And they will stop at nothing to do it. So that USA Today could say, without evidence, Marianne Williamson says the DNC is not on her side. Well, that's just intellectual laziness, if not outright dishonesty, in my opinion. Williamson suspended her campaign in early February after securing single-digit support, only to unsuspended 3 weeks later. The on-again, off-again candidate remains an option on every Democrat primary ballot except Kentucky, Maryland, and Oregon. Despite polling above opponent and fellow longshot candidate Dean Phillips, she has yet to receive a single delegate from any primary during the 2024 election cycle. Amaryllis Fox, campaign director for independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy, posted a job ad on X from the Democrat Party titled Independent and Third Party Project Manager. She claimed the party is actively staffing intelligence operations to infiltrate our campaign events, spy on American volunteers, and scuttle voters' rights to choose anybody other than Joe Biden. Wow. Well, there you go. We were talking about the swamp earlier today and what they will do to keep their hands on power. And Marianne Williamson is making it abundantly clear that she feels that that's where she is right now in the American political scene. Once again, this is information you need to keep in mind. There was something that happened a while back. It was a presidential commencement address at Morehouse College. I saw most of the speech, and I was amazed that the speech was mischaracterized in the reporting by the mainstream media. I know that doesn't seem to be odd. The mainstream media actually ignoring something that is completely cogent. And it seems like this is a good day to bring it up, even though I've been rolling it around in my head for weeks at this point. We'll talk a little bit about democracy Biden style and what that means in just a few minutes. This is the Wells Report. Thanks for being a part of our broadcast. Telephone number 817-379-2172.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. I read a lot. These are readers. And and they're necessary. It happens. It's the way it is. So, we were talking moments ago about what I consider to be an entirely destructive willingness to pit Americans against each other for the sake of political advantage. And something happened a while back that was part and parcel of what presidents do. They, from time to time, go to universities during commencement, and they indeed talk about what they believe are important things having to do with the United States of America. President Biden did that very same thing at a historic black college, Morehouse College, and talked about democracy and how democracy had failed in this nation with regards to black Americans. It was not reported properly, in my opinion, not in any way, shape, or form, because the mainstream media missed what President Biden was actually saying. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I am an observer. I'm an analyst. I'm a journalist. And that this particular part of this speech was ignored, at least the meaning that seemed plain to me, is something that really kind of perplexed me for a while. As you know, I was busy doing Texas State Guard business, and of course, as I always say, that nothing I say regarding the Texas State Guard has anything to do with Texas State Guard policy or the Texas Military Department at any moment. Everything I say regarding the Texas State Guard is solely my responsibility and my simple opinion. So that being said, I was doing some training that took me away from this broadcast for like 3 weeks in a row. And this happened during that time. And I was trying to figure out when I could bring it back up. And today seems like the day. So let me bring you this part of this speech that the president gave to the graduates of Morehouse College just weeks ago. Watch this and listen with perhaps a different point of view as he spoke.
To the class of 2024, you join, as you know, a sacred tradition. And education makes you free, and Morehouse education makes you fearless. When his disciples felt all hope was lost, in our lives, in the lives of the nation, we have those Saturdays. That's the magic of Morehouse. That's the magic of America. It's a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. That's why I've called for an immediate ceasefire. An immediate ceasefire to stop the fighting. Bring the hostages home. And I've been working on a deal as we speak, working around the clock to lead an international effort to get more aid into Gaza, rebuild Gaza. I'm also working around the clock for more than just one ceasefire. I'm working to bring the region together. I'm working to make sure we finally get a two-state solution, the only solution, for two people who live in peace, security, and dignity. This is one of the hardest, most complicated problems in the world, and there's nothing easy about it. I know it angers and frustrates many of you, including my family. But most of all, I know it breaks your heart. It breaks mine as well. You can drink clean water without fear of brain damage, and I can't afford to remove the lead pipes themselves.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium the 46th President of the United States, Joseph R. Biden.
What is democracy? If black men are being killed in the street, what is democracy? The trail of broken promises still leave black communities behind. What is democracy? You have to be 10 times better than anyone else to get a fair shot. Most of all, what does it mean, as we've heard before, to be a black man who loves his country, even if it doesn't love him back in equal measure? Faith asks you to hold on to hope, to move heaven and earth, to make better days. Well, that's my commitment to you, to show you democracy, democracy, democracy is still the way. If black men are being killed in the street, we bear witness. For me, that means to call out the poison of white supremacy, to root out systemic racism.
And so Global News brought that. And what was fascinating to me was how many people missed what he was saying. What he was doing was telling these brilliant men and women who had just finished an arduous college curriculum that democracy doesn't work for them. And then he started talking about how democracy has failed as far as the black people of the United States is concerned. I'm sorry, but democracy is essentially, for all intents and purposes, a means to an end. In a republic, the democracy aspect of it has to do with the election of people who represent us in a government. That is open to everyone. As a matter of fact, voting in this nation is not just open to Americans, but open to people who are not Americans, who come to this nation illegally and find themselves being given support from society. They are given the opportunity to be as American as they can be, including the right to vote. Chuck Schumer the other day talked about how everybody who's in the United States right now should have the right to vote in this country, and that is not real. It is not true. It is illegal. It is lawless. It is irresponsible. And he's the number one guy in the United States Senate. So this failure of democracy, people can't get a fair shake. Well, talk to me about another form of government where everybody does get a fair shake. Where everybody does get a fair shot. Everybody gets a fair wage. What kind of a government is that? That is a socialist government. Trying to impact young black people, the movers and shakers of the black experience in the United States, to believe that democracy is a failure is planting a seed. That seed was first talked about by President Obama. Everybody gets a fair shot. Everybody gets a fair wage. Everybody gets a government that hands them a living. And that is not America. The mainstream media just blew that off. Indeed, had they not blown it off and they said, the President of the United States, Joe Biden, attacked democracy at its very core as being a failure, the White House would have immediately said, no, that's taken out of context. Following in the footsteps of socialist despots that have killed more human beings since the idea of socialism first reared its ugly head and pursued political power over all else, and simply doing away with those that disagreed. We are seeing that seed, that virus, multiply in these United States. It used to be something that was talked about in private rooms by people who are blatantly anti-American, socialist, leftist, fascist, crazy people. Because fascism does involve itself in this, because indeed, as we have seen, if you disagree politically in these United States, regardless of the issue, you will be canceled. The bulwarks of American society, the legal system, the justice system, the judicial branch of our government, being warped in a way to sunder those who disagree politically, so they cannot find themselves in a position where they could indeed gain the power that is being so jealously guarded by these people that seek only to expand it. And yes, to the detriment of all, for the sake of everyone having a fair shot. Nobody said a word about it. Well, I am. These people believe, after decades of watching political incompetence hurt this nation, resilient as it is in being able to push this stuff aside, now is part and parcel of leftist, quote, progressive politics. It's unbelievable. Joe Biden is a blatant racist. He always has been. His famous gaffes of going to, say, for example, a family's house and taking them Kentucky Fried Chicken. And did he dig into that delicious mixture of 13 herbs and spices that Colonel Sanders put together so famously? No. No, he got himself a hamburger. That was unbelievable. This guy is just plain racial to his core. And what he is attempting to do is use the leverage of racism to foist what is a socialist remedy to what is capitalist unfairness. Capitalism is based on merit. Socialism is based on grievance. Capitalism is opportunity. Socialism is shut up and do what you're told. Democracy has failed you. Why in heaven's name do you believe in democracy? All the while saying democracy, democracy, democracy. That's what it's all about, even though I just spent countless minutes telling you how terrible it was for your particular experience. This doublespeak so famously outlined in 1984 by George Orwell, is where we find ourselves, at least in the beginning stages of, here in these United States. President Obama famously said that he believed that a European-style socialism was the way forward for the United States, a country that has outperformed every other nation on the planet ever since its inception, but somehow was in need of fundamental change. Fundamental change? If you're number one, what does that change involve? Well, that change involves something less than, especially in the example of government situations in our own lifetime. Socialism is a failure. Socialism is deadly. Socialism puts the wrong people in charge of the wrong things. The greatest socialist society in the world now has a section of their country that is so poisoned that people will not be able to live there in a healthy way for the next 20,000 years. That place is Chernobyl. Pripyat, a city of 50,000, evacuated because politics became more important than nuclear physics. And this president is attempting to incite the next generation of a particular part of our great American population to believe that democracy has somehow failed them. Democracy has not failed us. The Republic is strong and indeed offers an opportunity for all through merit, not grievance. It amazes me. It amazes me how our media, of which I have been a part for over half a century, refuses to tell the story. Why? Because, as we know, socialist societies cannot exist where free speech runs and reigns as an essential part of society. And this government has done its dead level best to quell that free speech. for the sake of politics. Make no mistake. These people are serious about this. They're not playing around. God help them if they win. Again. This is the Wells Report. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. There's breaking news as we return to this broadcast. Criminal charges against world #1 golfer Scottie Scheffler have been dismissed by a Kentucky court, ending a brief and stunning fracas that upended the second major of the golf season, the PGA Championship, at Valhalla, which is just outside Louisville. This, by the way, from the Wall Street Journal. In Louisville on Wednesday, Jefferson County Attorney Mike O'Connell said that he agreed with Scheffler's characterization that the incident was a complete misunderstanding in the wake of a separate fatality. The 7-minute hearing, 7 minutes, ended a 12-day saga that saw the best golfer in the world wearing an orange jumpsuit and then went on to compete in a major championship on the same day. O'Connell said that he had concluded after a week-long investigation that while the detective who stopped Scheffler had been concerned for public safety, quote, Mr. Scheffler's actions and the evidence surrounding their exchange during this misunderstanding do not satisfy the elements of criminal offenses. So Scottie Scheffler doesn't have to worry about whether or not he's going to walk around in orange for a while, which is good news. Good news. So, I was just talking about meritocracy and how the best players win and find themselves enriched because of the amazing capitalist society in which we live. And the achievements, not just from a standpoint of personal growth and wealth, the achievements go far beyond that. Technology is one of the greatest things that America has produced. It is our number one export. It is something that only comes because people have the grit and determination to succeed beyond anyone's wildest dreams, to provide us with truly amazing devices, etc. And while it's maybe somewhat regrettable that the military is the greatest pursuer of that technology, it still is kind of cool when that technology is finally made public. There is something out there called the B-21 Raider bomber. It is the next generation of stealth bombers, the B-2 being the first. And now we have the B-21. The U.S. Air Force decided to show it off a little bit and gave us some new pictures of it, which I thought I would share with you on the Wells Report.
The Raider is the talk of the moment in the world of military aviation. First shown, that's a bit of an overstatement, as the project is so secret we barely got to see it. At the end of 2022, the plane is America's first new nuclear bomber in almost 3 decades. You probably already know how the country's nuclear bomber fleet looks like at the moment. We've got 3 such specialized aircraft flying in the hands of the U.S. Air Force, namely the veteran B-52 Stratofortress, in service since 1955, the B-1B Lancer, which took to the sky for the first time in 1986, and the Junior B-2 Spirit, which has been flying since 1997. The brand new Raider is here to replace the more younger nuclear bombers currently in service, namely the Lancer and the Spirit. For some reason, the American military decided to keep the Stratofortress flying for a few decades more, which will effectively turn it into the world's first plane of this kind to still be flying a century after it was introduced. The B-21 began performing test flights last year at the facility in California operated by its maker Northrop Grumman, but since that time we haven't heard much about how the project is going. That changed this week, when the U.S. Air Force decided to give us a glimpse of the aircraft in flight, looking all alien and mean. The images you see here have been snapped at the Edwards Air Force Base in the same Golden State, where the project continues to make progress toward becoming the backbone of the U.S. Air Force bomber fleet. Most of the plane's specs are kept secret, for obvious reasons, but the Air Force describes the thing as a highly survivable, penetrating strike stealth bomber. It will be powered by an undisclosed number of engines, probably 2 of them, most likely from the Pratt & Whitney F135 family, that should help it travel long distances. One of the Raider's main attributes is that, unlike the bombers it is meant to replace, it is of the open systems architecture variety. That should help U.S. Air Force's people adapt and integrate new technologies into it as they emerge, prolonging its operational life. It is also highly digitalized. As per officials involved with the program, the Raider is on track to be completed and delivered as scheduled, even if for the civilian world it's unclear when that will be. The military says something about mid-2020s operational readiness.
So we have a brand new bomber. It's the B-21 Raider. Obviously, it's probably leapt forward with the original B-2, which, by the way, was so good, it was able to fly over integrated air defenses of Iraq and blast everything. Apparently, this is far, far better, and there's no reason to disbelieve that that is the case. But I got to say this. It's really, as Yvonne said, man, it's really cool looking. It really is. It really is. I remember when the B-2 first came out. I was a wacky morning guy and decided that what I was going to do was I was going to go out to an Air Force base and essentially play a soundtrack of a bomber essentially approaching the crowd, and there would be no bomber. It would just simply be sound. And I would stand up there and say, my God, this is truly stealth. You can't even see it. And you know what? I've actually seen the B-2 on the ground. And visually, it's very, very hard to pick out of the background, even when it's less than 3 miles away. I don't know what the capabilities are of this particular bomber, but all I can tell you, and nobody else does either, but all I can tell you is I'm sure glad it's on our side How about you? This has been the Wells Report in our brand new time. I hope you like it and hope you enjoyed it. And please tell your friends about it. And I will see you again. By the way, this is important. I'm going to Pennsylvania. Okay. I'm going to Pennsylvania because my father-in-law is turning 90 years old. And I'm not going to miss that birthday celebration. So I will be back next Wednesday, 11 to 1 here on the Wells Report. And I really appreciate your patience with this. I keep saying that what I'm going to do is I'm going to be available and really put a long string of these shows in place so that you can feel that we're somewhat dependable. And I promise you that I will. I may indeed show up at the weirdest times simply to say hello during this hiatus, which will be a few days. God bless you and yours. God bless all of y'all. Thank you so much for being a part of our broadcast. And I will see you a week from today with more editions of the Wells Report.